What's up, everybody? I'm Jamal.
And I'm Brandon, and this is the way we ball.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Way We Ball podcast. It's been a minute and it's been my fault. I decided rather than worry about my responsibilities, I'm going to go around the globe to see my favorite football team, Liverpool, beat Chelsea 4-1. And boy, did they do it in a great fashion as well. Brandon, how is everything going back home, back in the Lone Star State?
It was good, man. It was also fun to watch that throttle on television. I was trying to find you because you sent a picture of your seats, and boy, did you have an incredible view. But obviously, it's a little hard to spot you in that sea of people.
Yeah, I need to look back. So no joke, it was marketed as the fourth row, but the first two rows were for like disabled folks. So I was literally in the second row of seats. So I need to look at the highlights right now and see if I came out. I'm sure we did come out because we were right there when the first like two goals were scored. Um, but it's incredible, man. Like, you know, I guess this could be like our first topic for the episode. People talk about the MLS and how far we are. I really don't think we're that far. Like there's a few things that are already like that are just instilled within folks because the club's been around so long. Like the whole town knows Liverpool's playing today. Everywhere you go, people are wearing red. From the shops, cafes, like everyone knows there's a football or soccer match happening today. We don't have that yet, right? Um, but when it comes to just people being in the stadium, the chanting and all that, I honestly don't think MLS is too far off. People like to mock us, but I think we're a few decades away from bringing something similar to the EPL.
I think the only thing we need is just differentiate songs. Our beats and our music is the same across every MLS stadium. You know, like they all have like the Dolly Dynamo, their version of it. Like I know LAFC is like black and gold. Everybody does the same thing. That's the only knock I have against American chants. Otherwise, I'm with you. They are up and loud and they cheer. They just don't have creative cheers. I think that's where we have years to come.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I really liked about this game or this match, and I've noticed it before, the whole crowd gets involved. Like I feel like we're always
Yeah.
limited to just our supporter section. Like over here, the supporter section starts it off, but then the whole crowd will follow suit, and we're not there yet. I feel like we have a lot of casuals that just go watch the game, or they want to go take their kids to go experience it. But like it's crazy. I was telling my girlfriend like they don't care about your comfort. The seats suck. They're terrible. There's no space at all. The food sucks. Going in sucks. There's no ramps for disabled people. Like it is a terrible experience if you're not a soccer fan. But those guys, like they're not there to, relax. They're not there to have fun. They're there to support their club. And I don't know if the US will ever get that because I feel like we're so spoiled with all of our sporting events, but it's pretty wild to see, man. All these like kids as young as like 5 years old, all the way to old folks in their 70s and 80s, literally roughing it out in freezing temperatures just to support their club. So it was great to see. Kind of sucks that we're not there yet, but again, I think once the Dynamo start winning and it becomes more ingrained into the community, there may be a day where we're like that, where we're not complaining about the heat every 10 seconds.
I mean, if you look at the overall sporting spectrum in America, the closest thing that we have to it is probably college sports. I mean, that's where you're
For
most
sure.
tribal, where everybody comes together. You overcome kind of bad obstacles. Like, for instance, I've gone to Kansas University where they play at Allen Fieldhouse, and that thing's like 1,000 years old, doesn't have heat, doesn't have air conditioning, and they're playing in December in Kansas. Like, but yet it's an incredible experience. Nobody cares about that kind of thing, you know? So it is here, but is it in MLS? No, not yet. I do think it can come that way to where nobody cares about the Heat anymore. They just care about that club. It's going to take some time, but luckily for us, we have things that are upcoming to help that culture. With World Cup on the horizon, I really think that's going to be a boom, and not just it being held in America, but especially in Houston. Like I think that's going to be a very nice thing, not only for the Dynamo but for MLS.
Yeah, it's for sure going to be huge for us. Well, Brandon, I literally just got back from Anfield like minutes ago. Wanted to jump on because we didn't record last week, and I feel like it'd be important to jump on and talk about the latest news that's happened. We've had some news, not the big splash we were all anticipating, but we've had some news. It's not Antoine Griezmann, but it's news, right? So
Yeah.
why don't you start it off and bring folks up to speed with what's going on?
Okay, so we'll first start off with what kind of was the first domino to fall. Gasper has been traded to Chicago. He was sent off for a third round 2026 super draft pick. A lot of things that I started to look into was his contract. We were paying a lot of money towards his contract, but the Galaxy were holding most of that weight. I think it was like a 60-40 split around that range. Essentially, he had like a 425K contract, and we were about half, a little bit more. So we didn't clear that full 425, but we cleared enough. The other thing, it's a big hit for us. Caicedo looks like he's just staying home in South America. Seems like he has some family issues. And Pat, he alluded to it. It doesn't sound like he's coming back. I don't think we're really going to elaborate much on that situation, except for it just sucks. We hope the best for him, and it does hurt our midfield depth. But today we had a nice little signing, Jans Grey Goose. So looking into Jans, he is an MLS vet, and you and I have kind of been banging the drum, especially me, that we want MLS proven players. The only downfall is he's 33 years old, so he's definitely a vet. But with that 33 years of age, he does have good experience. He has 12 international games played with Slovakia. He was with Bolton Wanderers development team, where he played some big games with that development team as well as a young kid. He has Europa League experience, where he's played with FC Copenhagen. He was a Minnesota DP. He's played with Nashville, so he's had seasons MLS. He's had that international background as well. But what kind of player is he? He's not a goal scorer. So that's not something we can really look for in terms of how he ranks against other midfielders in MLS. He's in the 14th percentile in assists. Like, he's not a creative player, quote unquote, when it gets to the box. But he is that player that does everything in the background. Think more kind of like an Artur, where he does everything silently, that doesn't jump off the page. But if you watch the games, you're like, damn, this guy does a lot. He's 88th percent passing completion. He's 95th percentile in terms of progressive passes. So even though he doesn't have a lot of assists, his passes then lead to goals, and he's one of the best in the MLS at doing that. So it is a nice depth piece, especially with the injury of Ache Ache. He's kind of a very poor man's Ache Ache in the sense that he's a point guard. And that's essentially what we need for this team to be successful, depending on how long he'll be out. And even so, he's good midfield depth, man. I mean, like, that's going to add to where we are in terms of with Brooklyn Reigns, Seba, in terms of our bench. Those are really those two midfielders that will be coming off. He can be a third option once Ache Ache returns.
And more than anything, and like I was inside of Hanfield when I saw the news, so I haven't really like gotten to look at him or to scout at all. But I do remember him always like destroying Houston. He was like he
Yeah.
reminded me of Derek Fisher with the Lakers. Like, he was an okay piece until he played the Rockets, and he was like an all-star. So I don't know what it is about the Dynamo. When he plays them, he just shined, and maybe that had something to do with Pat and Ben wanting him. So I am excited. Like, I remember when I first thought about it, I was like, oh man, really excited because I remember what he did against us. Driving in the Uber home, I was looking at it. I was like, well, he's not as impressive as I thought he was, first impression. But I think it was like that he just shined against us for some reason. So hopefully he'll find some of that back. Maybe he prefers the Heat. You never know. So it was a good move. It was a needed move. Our midfield went from our strongest piece, literally, in like the blink of an eye, to being our biggest need. And and like you said, I mean, you made a good metaphor with the first domino falling. I think we're still waiting for some dominoes to fall. It looks like Fededa's our starter from what we've heard, but if a
Yep.
offer comes up, I don't think Pat's going to turn that down. Same thing with Coco. I think they're still moving that. Um, I do know the European transfer market closes today, or Thursday, excuse me, Thursday European time. So I'm guessing that shuts the door for Coco going to Spain. I know that was the rumor circulating. Um, so now if he does get moved, I'm guessing Mexico or within MLS. Is that what you're thinking as well?
I honestly think the idea is to hold him until the halfway point of the season, until the opening transfer window of Europe next year. Because with Ache Ache being injured and with us not having much money, I think we really needed Sebas Ferreira to be sold for us to start to really kind of move Coco, because then we'd have enough money to really build out. I think our hands are tied. Pat's alluded to it when he was on Glenn's show. He even said straight up on the news that Sebas is going to be our starter for striker, so we got to get behind that. And then we just don't have much money. Jan's got signed because I think we were able to clear Gasper, to be honest with you. So it, I think this is our squad. Unless something major happens, I don't think that's going to happen. So now we have to buy into the fact of, okay, is this good enough? We were good enough last year with kind of just spotty goal scoring at best. Let's put it that way. Now, if Sebas can actually start to be a legit goal scoring DP striker, this team is a threat again. Like, I think we're in such a wait and see moment. We can either be a team that was in the top four, and if we keep the same squad, and if we get hit with injury bugs or just bad play or whatever happens, it could also be that flip where MLS happens to so many teams. You're a top four team, and then suddenly you're a bottom four team. That I hope to God we aren't that narrative.
I'm so confused. And again, this is like a whole other episode, but I could have sworn like 2 years ago we were talking about Pat cleaning up this roster, the mess that Matt Jordan made. And once he cleaned it up, we were going to have all this cash to spend and all this money to blow. And it's like it never happened. Like he like slowly flipped it over, but we never had that huge signing. And I honestly feel like in the blink of an eye, we went from anticipating a ton of money to having no money. And at the same time, you have clubs like Miami still signing big names. I forgot who else just signed a big name as well. Like LA still making key signings. Like it's like we're always trying to play catch up, and then you have these teams who are always spending big, still spending big, and it's just so confusing to me. And it's like when does it stop? You know, like when do we get our break?
Yeah, it's kind of like, when do we get to join in the fun and have these big signings as well? Like wetting our beak with Hector was such a blessing and a curse, because it was great to have him, and my God, do I love him. But now it's a little bit of what we expect, especially with Messi rolling in. Like there's so many things, you're right, where it just feels, I think this offseason we all had unrealistic expectations in hindsight. I don't think we realized how much money was actually tied up. I think we thought it would be easier to sell Coco and Sebas than it really was. But now I'm starting to buy into just what does this team look like? What are the pieces without Ache Ache and putting in Jans? Like, does that cut into Seba and also Brooklyn Reigns coming in off the bench? Because they talked about Brooklyn getting some playing time. So now this is really a test of Benny Ball. Like, here's the one thing that happens. If Ben Olsen takes this team and makes them a threat and a legit contender, we are going to have more faith than the Miami Heat culture. Like, I'm going to be so bought in if Ben makes this team what we were to, like, towards the end of the season last year.
Yeah, if he continues but off the build off of last year, like you have to give him all the credit despite all of the movement and everything that's happened. And based on paper, I mean, just looking at a paper, it looks like we've gotten weaker. If let's say Sebas continues the way he played before we loaned him out, you lose your striker in Corey Baird, you're losing Caicedo. If first glance we look weaker than the way we started last year after knowing what we know. So, yeah, I think everyone's bought in if Ben can continue that success. So,
I think the
um,
only counter to us looking weaker would be that we have more time to develop as a unit, and we're still an overall fairly young team at certain positions. So with extra time, maybe that's a blessing. Maybe we become even stronger because this team has such a strong locker room, and I think we overlooked that, how important that is.
it's important, but we are starting the season without Herrera. I believe he was a huge reason for that locker being as strong as it was.
Yeah,
Um, so that's going to be a huge blow, especially to start the season off, because just first impression, everything start of the season, you kind of set the tone. So that's going to be a huge miss. Speaking of starting the season, speaking of teams getting MLS, our guys are in Mexico for their preseason. We're not getting much information. Everything's being behind closed doors, which is fine. But speaking of Liga MX, we got our groups today for Super League. What are your thoughts on us being with the same group as Real Salt Lake and Atlas?
so with Real Salt Lake, man, we are starting to get enough games against them that at what point do we start to consider this a rivalry? Because we keep meeting them in big time moments. The best news is we've had their number. I mean, we've beaten them in the US Open Cup, we've beaten them in the regular season, we've even beat them in the playoffs. So now this is another opportunity for us to take it to Real Salt Lake. They've gotten weaker with a lot of departures leaving from them. So I like our chances to advance out of group stage. How far we'll go, I mean, who knows? How healthy will we be? But the team we start with today, even with Hector's injury, I still like our chances to get out of group stage.
Yeah, I do too. The only thing that like bums me out is what we talked about last episode. Like, man, it would have been so awesome to go to Guadalajara
Yeah,
and seeing the Dynamo play against Atlas at Atlas. But we're not going to get that. And I feel like the Liga MX teams are going to come in weaker because of the travel and the scheduling. Like Guadalajara is going to have to go. Atlas is going to have to go from Guadalajara to Real Salt Lake, then to Houston, or which other way around. But not only are you dealing with the travel time, you're dealing with the altitude, you're dealing with temperature change. It's quite a bit for a team who's used to playing in a pretty steady climate in Mexico. So I think, yeah, strengths, all the strength is going to be in our favor. I think we're going to make it out of that group stage. As you said, we've had Salt Lake's number. Um, my whole thing was like, I would have loved to have gone to Guadalajara
same.
to seeing the Dynamo play over there. But again, with the way that whole thing is built, it's not going to happen. So.
Yeah, give it, hopefully with more money and time, this gets a bigger influx of cash. My idea too is I wonder if they should start picking just major host cities to do this. Maybe they host half of it in Mexico and the other half in America and they sprinkle it out, and make it more of a draw. I think the argument and pushback from fans would be, oh, there's not enough fan support to travel all this way. If you don't start somewhere, it's never going to get anywhere. And I think constantly keep putting these games on and telling people, hey, these are big matches and you're seeing nothing but empty stands behind you isn't a good look. I would rather the excuse of like, oh, it's all the way in Las Vegas and I didn't want to buy a flight, so of course there's not that many people. I know that sounds sad, but at this point we need to start thinking about PR and how we're growing this, because I hate the perception that people have of this league when in reality it is growing to be a legit threat in this world. Not in terms of like, will it be on the stages of Europe and stuff? I don't think so. But in terms of it dominating this side of the market, I want to see that.
Um, I mean, let's do a super early prediction. Do you think that game against Atlas sells out?
No. I think it gets a good crowd, but like depending on what the team is, well, I say no immediately and I shouldn't have done that. It needs to be, where are we as a team? If we start off red hot and this team is just absolutely balling, yeah, I think people are going to get behind it. With all the press that we've had lately about it, if we can continue this hot streak, sure. I don't think it will sell out, but I think we might have good crowds going forward, and that's what we need.
I guess my question was more so, does Houston have a good Atlas fan base that would come out and support? Because I think, who was it last year? Last did we get Leon? Was it?
Yeah,
Right, and I don't think they
yeah,
did it. They had a huge fan base. I know Dallas got Necaxa, and I don't know, just like odd teams. I don't know if they purposely do that because they know like Tigres would sell out or America would sell out, and it wouldn't be. I don't know if they purposely put the not so popular teams in the Houston market because um, an Atlas would do better in Houston than say a St. Louis. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
But they also do
I
a
don't know.
terrible job
Atlas.
of marketing this. Like in reality, I think League's Cup kicks off in like 8 days or something ridiculous like that, and no one has any idea. They do not market this, not just in Houston, but I'm talking like Apple and MLS. They're really bad at that.
Yeah, no, that's actually news to me. I've been so like lost with everything going on. It's crazy that, I mean, even the season itself is about to kick off, and it
Exactly.
just feels like, yeah, just yesterday we were watching that LAFC match. So, um, all right, Brandon. So while I've been out here, what else have I missed in the Dynamo front?
Everything else now is us just kind of waiting on if we can sell anything. From the most part, it doesn't sound like anything's going to change. So now we just have to stay healthy, and if there are any sells, then awesome. But otherwise, I think we need to start getting our minds around that this is going to be the squad. You got the
All right.
experience.
Well, Let's move on to our balling around the globe. Uh, Brandon, what is your story from around the soccer world?
So today we go to Germany, and like always, Cole or Jamal, I'll have questions for you. Jamal, when I say to you, what is a club that is a big name club, but I guess a disaster in terms of losing? They have prestige, but they don't really win anything, and they're constantly bottom of the tables or standings.
I want to say LA Galaxy, but they're not in Germany.
No, you're exactly right. But I'm going to take you to FC Schalke. Now, believe it or not, they were once a predominant Bundesliga team, but now they actually sit 15th in Bundesliga 2. And the reason why that's a big deal is if they get relegated to Bundesliga 3, they actually have to disband. And what I mean by that is they have such a massive debt, 165 million euro debt, that they can't apply for their licensing fee to stay in the league. So they will actually have to disband as a professional club and become an amateur club. Can you believe that? That's a massive club that is going to have to essentially be a club that is going to be you or me could try out for.
Yeah, no, FC Schalke, that's where McKinney got his feet wet in
Yeah.
soccer. So good thing he got out of there when he did, right? Yeah, no, that's not a foreign concept. I know in the UK they call it going into administration. Um, but that's crazy because it was no more than 5, 6 years ago. I was watching Schalke because of McKinney, and now the fact that they might get demoted to League Three and even disband, it's crazy how fast things can go south. Like, and that's the underbelly, right, of promotion relegation. Like we talk about us. If the Dynamo would have been in that scenario, we would have been disbanded a long time ago during those Matt Jordan years. Um, Luckily, we still have a club. But yeah, it shows just how quick things can go south, and in the blink of an eye, you can lose everything. It's very unfortunate. Is there any bright side to this story?
If they can just avoid relegation, they can then have enough money to stay alive. But they're going to need massive amount of essentially donations or some big spender to come in and swoop up the club, because with that amount of debt, you're not going to really make any money. If you love Wrexham so much, if anybody knows that, like if you stay below promotion, and especially with their stadium, they have a massive arena, and I don't think people realize, like, if you're not filling those seats, the cost of that is outrageous. And if they're continuing to lose, yeah, they're going to be disbanded. And you're exactly right. How you alluded to, if we had that here in America, I don't think Houston would still have a club. I think we would have disbanded. We would be now on the brink of, oh, hey, maybe we're going to next team up for getting a contract, like how San Diego's coming in 2025. So sad news, but also kind of crazy for those that maybe just haven't been following the Bundesliga very well, and now have heard that and think like, man, I've played with them on FIFA, and now they're going to be just some club that is a beer league softball team.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I'm exactly one of those guys. I did use them on FIFA just because of McKinney, and that is crazy to me, man. Well, my balling around the globe, it's nothing too crazy. It was just something I thought that was kind of funny. So I come into Liverpool, and it just kind of I toured Anfield the day before Klopp announced he was out. So I felt like a bad luck charm. But coming in here, my Uber driver said, "You need to go to Jurgen's. You need to go to Jurgen's. Go check out Jurgen's." And I'm just like, "What that?" Like I thought it was like a tour, like go see his house from like those Hollywood tour buses where you can go see celebrities' houses and stuff. Well, we're driving by and I see a pub called Jurgen's, and so of course I want to check it out. So I look it up, and it's a bar dedicated to Jurgen Klopp. So, if you come to Liverpool, check out Jurgen's, and it is all Jurgen Klopp pictures, footage, him first coming to Liverpool, and it just got me thinking, like, when is it that we're gonna get a Olsen's in Edo in Houston? Is that ever gonna happen? It's gonna be a bar full of disappointment, I guess. But but yeah, man, it's just crazy. Like I said again, like the team is just so ingrained in people's culture, in the culture, and in just everyday life here, that there's a bar called Jurgen's that you can come check out. And the story goes, when they were going to their Champions League final, he took the bus. They stopped at Jurgen's before going to the airport. He got out, told the team to stay in the bus, and he got a quick beer. got back into the bus. They went on to win the Champions League that year. I don't know how true that is. I tried googling it and looking it up, didn't find anything, but pretty cool story, man. So I just had to share that cool stuff, and hopefully, if I get some time, I'll edit the photos I took of it into this part. But yeah, man, Jurgen's bar.
Did you buy anything when you were at Anfield?
Oh, too much, dude. Too much. Don't even. I'm like nervous to look at my credit card information. I bought too much. I need to buy a new luggage to put all the stuff that I bought because it's not going to fit in the luggage I brought. I brought myself stuff, and then it was like I just bought stuff for people who don't even care about soccer. Like my girlfriend's like family. Like I think her uncle doesn't care too much for EPL, but I still got him like a Liverpool hat. I'm trying to like get them Liverpool fans,
Into it?
and I'm trying to do the same thing here with like Dynamo stuff too. So trying to get some.
Uh, that was your first time at Anfield, right?
Yeah, yeah. I tried
Overall
last year.
impressions. Like, I mean, you've gotten the fortunate ability to compare it to like American stadiums. You know what I mean? Like, is there one that you can relate it to?
No, dude, in the I mean this in the best way possible, in the most endearing way possible, but it's a dump. Like it's a dump. It's tiny. It's not comfortable.
Wow.
Yeah, but again, like the charm of it is everyone coming together for the soccer, like not because it's a beautiful stadium, it's a beautiful stand, like
But is it like,
it's
are the seats nice? Because like Wrigley Field is super old, and in theory, you could label that a dump, but no, not at all. Like if you've been in there, you see the charm and the history, all of it comes together. It's like that kind of what it's like.
no, they're plastic seats. It's a plastic back rest and then a
Oh
plastic
wow.
bottom that like flips up and down. That's it. No armrests, no cup holders, nothing. Just plastic. You're sitting on plastic. It
Is the
again, and I
concourse
mean
nice? Like, do they have
it's
anything?
the most
It's so
generic thing. Like
disappointing.
yeah, no, they're just super generic concourses. Like it literally it's a window that just has food written on top. That's it. And there's nothing special. It's just hot dogs, the like meat they call meat pies or like little pot pies, and the beers, which you have to drink on the spot. You can't take them to to the seat. They don't allow beer in the seated area. So the toilets were like the old. I don't know if you remember the old Astrodome urinals. It's like a
Yeah,
huge like slough, and you just like pee
where it's
with
just a
dudes.
bathtub.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's like
anybody that's
still a
been
thing
eight
here.
years old and had to go to the bathroom was scarred for life. Like
Yeah, yeah,
Jesus,
same
you're
here.
perfect eye level for just misery.
Yeah, so yeah, totally. It's funny because I was on the opposite end of that. I was the grown up now, and it's just like I saw a kid like behind me getting ready to go after me, and in my head I was thinking, I was like, man, I was that kid once, like super
Dude,
intimidated.
every
Um,
time when my dad was like, "You have to go to the bathroom," it's like, God, I do, but like, no,
yeah.
like I
Oh,
don't
wait.
think you understand.
Yeah. So no, man. And again, I mean it in a charming way. Like it's a dump on the inside, and again, it's just us being so spoiled. Like last year, I came and I went to Craven Cottage, I went to the Molyneux, Wolverhampton, and these British stadiums aren't that nice, man. And but again, like you're not going there because dude, I saw Celtic. I went to Glasgow and I
Oh, I
saw
saw that
Celtic,
picture.
and yeah, same thing. Like the 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 turnstiles, I could barely fit in them, and I'm not like the biggest guy. And my girlfriend's petite, and she struggled to get through them. Like they don't care about comfort at all. Like it's a place just for people to gather around and support their club. And again, I guess
And
that's
leave.
part of the appeal. That's what makes it so charming is that, like you said, like college sports, like people are there just, because they've been ingrained with these teams. But unlike college sports, Kyle Field is beautiful inside. They don't, that's not really a thing here.
Was it weird to sing "You'll Never Walk Alone" in two different stadiums? Because they
Oh,
sing
dude, it
that
was
at
so funny.
Celtic, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, the day before we went to that match, we did the tour, and one of the guys was from Liverpool, and he was just bashing Celtic for using "You'll Never Walk Alone." But they have a weird, that could have been my bone around the globe too. They have a weird history where Everton was the first club in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Um, but then, they created Liverpool. At first, nobody really wanted to play for Liverpool because Everton was the original club. So the owner of Liverpool got a bunch of Scottish dudes to come down and play for Liverpool. So Liverpool was founded by an almost all Scottish played team. Um, and a lot of my Uber drivers told me that Liverpool and Scotland have this weird like relationship where they kind of respect one another. Um, so just the fanboy in me, I couldn't sing "You'll Never Walk Alone" inside of Glasgow. I saved it for tonight, and I mean, I'm sure you'll hear it in the episode. My voice is shot to shit, but it was awesome, man. It was awesome. I bought a Jurgen scarf just because of the occasion, and yeah, I was going a little nuts.
That actually will be sick in the background to have that too, because that's gonna be a nice momentum. Good call on buying that. I
Oh,
no,
I
I
know.
did look up that history because I remember playing FIFA and they started singing it, and I was like, did I? Because I was Celtic one season, like just leading them as a manager, and I was like, did I hit a setting where I changed like wherever they walk out they sing this song, and I was so confused. And then so I looked it up, and that's when I found the history behind it, and so pretty wild, man. So that's kind of a nice little connection there that you have there, and made it all perfect
Yeah.
for you. I'm glad we got the win too, baby. 4-1,
Oh man, it
absolutely
was
demolished them, babe.
demolished, man. It was great, and it was great
It was a
because of
beating.
Chelsea and the whole thing with like Caicedo and this whole summer. So it was
Oh,
awesome,
dude.
man.
And
Um,
also
uh,
Bradley putting in not only a sick cross but a beautiful
oh
goal.
yeah,
Oh, dude, I was going nuts when he put it in.
dude, yeah, that guy. I don't think that guy's gonna have to pay for beers the rest of the year.
God, you know
They
you're
already
young
love
when you
him.
wear number 84.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, Brandon. Well, before we wrap it up, we have our ball in or ball out. Let's hear today's topics, and we'll wrap it up.
so, so I made mine all very much Dynamo centric, and it's kind of be a little bit more predictions. So here's what I mean by like this: ball in, ball out. Sebas will have over 10 goals in league play. You ball in or ball out. Over 10 goals in league play.
This is a fanboy in me making this call, but I'm balling. I think he's gonna have a breakout year. I think we talked about that locker room being established now, especially once Herrera comes back. I'm balling on Sebas having a strong year.
I'm going to join you in that front. I'm really trying to talk myself into the fact that I think this is a bounce back year for him all the way around. I hope to God he was humbled throughout that experience and he comes back just willing to play because he is somebody that if he can get it going, we can make a lot of money off this guy. So we kind of need him to work out. So in this case, I am saying ball in because I am just hoping to God it happens. All right, Jamal, next one. Ball in, ball out. Clark, over 10 clean sheets in league play. He had 13 last year. Do you think he'll have over 10 this year?
Just because our defense hasn't changed too much, I think that's still going to be I still think that's going to be the character of this team is built off of a strong defense. I'm going to say ball in on that, and not because of Clark's play, but more of that back line's play.
So this one I kind of struggled with. At first, I wanted to say ball out because I think Clark is starting to get up there in age, and this might be the season where he starts to decline. I don't know. At some point, you got to age out. I mean, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm with you in the fact that this back line is huge, and you've given him more time to gel. Svechenko is going to be there for a full season to really lead them. I could very much see this team just not allowing goals. Now, the other thing I think is Clark is getting up there in age. This gives an opportunity for Valdez to start playing. He is a homegrown player, and he has been somebody for the Dominican Republic has been pretty solid. So I would like to see him to start to get some more games. I think this is the only reason why Clark wouldn't reach over 10 is because he's splitting more time with Valdez. I hope that's the case because we do need a goalie here for the future, and hopefully he's that guy. So I'm going to say ball out on him having 10 clean sheets because of the emergence of Valdez. That's my hope and prediction for that. All right, last one here, and this one's a big one here for you, Jamal. Ball in, ball out. Dynamo to win over 1 cup.
On ball out. I don't have confidence in this team. I feel I don't have confidence in them winning another cup again just because people know what to look out for. They know how Ben plays. They know what to expect with the club that we have. And I just feel like the MLS got so much stronger. Miami got stronger. LA has gotten well. Boyanga's out, so I don't know about LA specifically, but Miami's going to be really really scary, man. So I'm ball out on Dallas got stronger. I hate to admit that, but the striker they got. Um, so I'm ball out just because of the competition level in the MLS.
I'm selling Inter. I think they got older. and they've got amazing quality. Don't get me wrong, world class players. We all can say their names, but Suarez is running on burnt out knees. Messi is going to be playing a lot of games with League's Cup, and without him, we saw how terrible they were. So, in terms of Inter, I'm out on that. Now, you're right. The rest of the league seemed to get better. And one club was the LA Galaxy. They have made tons of moves for players, including bringing in the Brazilian Peck as well. That will be a nice addition in my eyes for them. They could be scary. LAFC, they've made a couple. Bringing in Omar Campos from Santos is a huge move. He's a star in the making, and that's a great piece. But Belonga's out. Vela doesn't seem he's in and out. I mean, depending on which story you read, he's either in or he's out one day or the next. So you can't really count on that. And I've mentioned this stat plenty of times, and I'm going to keep drilling this one. They accounted for 90% of their goals. So without those two, yikes, all you did was bring in a defender, and you don't really have anybody to account for who's going to be doing the goal scoring over there. Now, this is a season where I could see LA Galaxy and LAFC kind of having a flip flop here, where Galaxy starts to emerge and they don't. Sounders, they lost Loedo to Orlando. They're always good. They seem to just kind of refresh no matter what. We'll see what St. Louis does. The West to me is winnable. I see us having an opportunity here. We're going to be one or two teams. We're either going to win one cup, or we're going to be that team that makes deep runs in every single thing: Leagues Cup, U.S. Open Cup, and MLS leagues and MLS playoffs. And maybe we don't come away with anything. I just think that this team with more time to gel is something that could be special. And if we're not, yikes, we got to really start making some moves here. So Dynamo over one cup. I'm gonna say ball in. I'm here for it.
I don't disagree with you as far as making the long runs, especially because we're a team built on defense, and
Mm-hmm.
historically that those are the teams that are more successful the longer you go into the postseason. My only worry is that at the end, when the cream rises to the top and you're playing the best of the best, that's I just if we get that Sebas that we think he can be, maybe, but I'm not 100% sure on him. Emotionally, I want to be, but I still don't know yet.
You're right. Sebas is the huge question mark on this season. Herrera, when he comes back from injury, is he going to still be the same Hector of last season? That's also the two main things to look for this season in my eyes. Can Sebas return, and can Hector still be Hector? If Hector's still Hector and Sebas is mediocre, we'll be okay. I mean, look how out and behind the scenes you were on Baird in terms of just him not being an overall striker. And if you think Sebas is a better striker, in your eyes, we upgraded there. And if that's the case, and looking at last season, I see this team having more time together as a benefit than adding a piece.
Well, that's a good call, Brandon. I think that's it for this week's episode. I'll get everything wrapped up, and hopefully we'll have it out by Thursday morning or afternoon. And then next week, back to regular scheduling. Back every Wednesday morning at 7:13 a.m. If y'all
Yeah.
haven't figured that out yet. But yeah, any last words before we wrap things up?
No, I'm excited for you to get back over here stateside, man. Enjoy your bit of a stay and have a safe flight. And can't wait to see some pictures and some content online for our social for fans to see as well.
Can't wait to utilize my season tickets this year for the Dynamo too. So that'll be fun. Get some more content for the way we ball.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's it for this week's episode. I'm Jamal.
And I'm Brandon, and this is The Way We Ball.